The peace that you experience in your life is directly proportionate to the extent that you're able to accept the moment precisely as it is. Now allow me to share a short story with you to sort of illustrate this idea. So there's this ancient Buddhist story, and it goes as such. There was a young girl who got impregnated, and her parents were really upset with this. So when the parents asked their daughter, who was it that impregnated you, she didn't want to admit that it was the fisherman that lived in the same town as them. She didn't want to rat him out, you know? So what she did is she said it was the Buddhist that lives up on top of the mountain in the monastery. So when the baby was born, the parents took the baby, since the girl was so young and couldn't raise it, the parents took the baby up to the monk living at the mountain in the monastery temple, and they knocked on the door, and the monk came and answered the door. And of course, this baby doesn't belong to this monk. But nevertheless, the parents showed up, and they said to the monk once he answered the door, they said, if this is your baby, then you will raise it. And they gave the baby to the monk. And the monk replied, "Ah, so." And he took the baby into his arms, and he shut the door. Now, 9 years later, the girl who gave birth to this baby was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and she was going to die very soon. She didn't want to die with that bad karma in her mind that she'd lied about who the father of her child was. So what she did is, before she died, she fessed up. She confessed to her parents, and she said, "It wasn't the monk who is the father of my child. It's the fisherman that lives in the same town as us. I can't live with this lie on my shoulders. It wasn't the monk. It was the fisherman." So the parents, completely bewildered that they gave this child to essentially somebody who wasn't even responsible for the child, they rushed up the mountain, up to the monastery, knocked on the door. This is 9 years later. So the monk answers the door, and standing next to him is a 9-year-old child. And the parents, completely ecstatic, are like, "Oh my gosh, we're so sorry. This baby doesn't actually belong to you. We were lied to. Our daughter told us you were the father," and all this hysteria. We can take the child back. You don't have to raise the child anymore, and you're free to go back to living your monastic lifestyle. So they take the baby, the 9-year-old child back, and the monk replies, "Ah, so." And the child goes, and the monk shuts the door and carries on with his life. Now, this story is a very old, classic story, and it's referred to as the sort of so story. And what I want to emphasize in this video is the importance of the so mentality. We could all take a lesson from this monk. I think the monk historically was referred to as Hakuin, something like that, if you want to research the so story. But yeah, we could all learn a valuable lesson from this story. The ability to accept the moment precisely as it is. This moment around us, and life itself, is defined and characterized by surprise, mystery, sudden changes, sudden shifts, and the unexpected. The future is the unexpected. Of course, there's certain things that we can sort of guarantee and count on, and then, of course, we can sort of try to set our life on a trajectory of expecting certain results. But nevertheless, things are going to happen that we don't account for. You don't account for, walking down the stairs and rolling your ankle, and now you can't, walk properly for the next couple months, You don't account for the car that pulls out in front of you, or you don't account for the coffee that you spill all over the place, There's so much surprise in life. You don't account for your loved ones passing away. You don't expect that it could be their last day. You don't expect that it could be your last day. This life is characterized and defined by surprise and the unexpected. And oftentimes, when the unexpected rears its head and manifests itself, we meet that situation, we meet that moment with rejection, with denial, with anger, with surprise. Like something you didn't plan on happening happens, and you go, "Oh my God, why did this happen? I can't believe this happened." We go into this sort of emotional hysteria about the simple fact that something surprised us. About the simple fact that something happened other than what we had planned. You know, you get in your car and you go to work and it turns out there's an accident and you need a detour and you end up being late for work. Some people work themselves into a complete emotional mess because of that. All because something happened that they didn't expect or plan on happening. Now, the so mentality is, think about the story I shared for a moment. The monk is living his life, and he hears a knock at the door, so he goes up to the door, and there's these hysterical parents saying, you birthed this child, so you're gonna raise him. And the monk, obviously this is an extreme example, but doesn't fight. Doesn't say, no, it isn't my child. He says, oh, that's the way it is, okay. No, this is a profound story, obviously. A lot of these Buddhist stories and this kind of stuff are very profound and symbolic of something deeper. But nevertheless, the essence still remains. This monk didn't fight, didn't resist, didn't push back. He allowed and accepted. Oh, now I'm a father, okay. And adjusted his life accordingly. Which is what we will have to do to live in harmony and peace with the moment, with our life as it continues to change. If we live if we have an inner narrative, an inner paradigm that goes against the grain of what's going on around us in our life, we're gonna live in dissonance from the way life is. We're living in a sort of fake reality that isn't congruent with the actual reality we're living in. You know? Where like if you have a dream of like being a professional, I always use this example, a professional skier, but then you get in an accident and you break your legs and you can't walk anymore. You need to have the ability and the capacity to be able to adjust your inner paradigm to be able to accommodate the life as it is. Otherwise, you're going to live in what's called cognitive dissonance. You're going to live in disharmony with the way life is, where in your mind you're living your life as, I wish I could be a professional skier, but because I'm paralyzed I can't. You know what I mean? And that's gonna be grounds for deep suffering and despair. But your ability to adjust your inner narrative to sort of be equal to and congruent with reality as it is and all the surprises that manifest themselves, that will result in a deeper level of peace and contentment and acceptance. And that acceptance, that grounds of peace and tranquility, is sort of the medium, the soil for new dreams to be born, for new creative expressions to be born, where you aren't. If you're living in the reality where your happiness was contingent upon being a professional skier, well then you getting paralyzed just ruined your whole life. So you can either live your life ruined or you can adjust accordingly. Now that's what this story is sort of illustrating, is that we have the ability in every single moment to refresh. It's like a reiteration of acceptance, 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 acceptance. You know those days you wake up and it's a Monday and you got to go to work and you spill your coffee and you slip on something and you stub your toe and you knock something over and you get in your car and you get stuck in traffic and it's just one thing after the next. Those are kind of, in Hinduism, that's what's referred to as Leela. It's a play. It's a sort of this orchestrated performance to test your patience, to see how grounded and centered you really are. Oh, you think you're grounded. Oh, you think you're content. Oh, you think you're peaceful. Well, here, let me bombard you with a myriad of different things that are gonna that's gonna find your hidden stash of ego, that's gonna find your hidden stash of stuff that you have yet to eradicate from yourself. So when you have those kinds of days, it's literally kind of like a test to see how grounded you are and how much can you really handle. And life will get really intense sometimes. Life will get really overwhelming sometimes. And what's required, if we want to keep any sort of sense of tranquility and serenity and mental clarity, what's required is our ability to let go. Let go, let go, let go, again and again and again and again. You think of like people that get in a relationship and it's amazing and then the person doesn't like them and they leave, or the person cheats on them. So to be able to behold that essence of that's the way it is profound. When your partner cheats on you, when your partner leaves, Most of the time, a lot of us are going to go into a cycle of grief and despair and anger and resentment and bitterness, and it may end up in a sort of callousing of our heart, and then eventually we kind of start to soften a little bit, and we meet another person, we get to know each other, and we start moving towards growth together, and then they leave us. Broken heart again. What are you going to do? Everybody's the same. See, you're all the same. Everybody screws me over. Nobody knows what true love is. A lot of people saying, screw love, F love, love is the same. No, the people you keep associating yourself with are the same. But the idea is that time and time again in this life, we are going to be met with surprise. Maybe a seeming cycle, a cyclic pattern of horrible surprises to the degree that it begins to be apparent that it's not even really a surprise anymore. Like your partner cheating on you or your partner leaving or whatever it is. And your ability to, here we are again, that is what your peace is founded upon. Your ability to let go, let go. Let go. Don't harden your heart. Don't become bitter. Don't become calloused. I've heard this statement before. Only dead fish go with the flow. And I've kind of thought to myself, I know what you're saying, but what is the flow that you're talking about? Are you talking about mainstream cultural norms? What do you mean by the flow? And what do you mean only dead fish go with the flow? I've often heard it from people who are very stubborn, people who are very bitter, very cold. Only dead fish go with the flow. As if that statement is a sort of rebuttal against somebody more grounded, somebody more harmonious, saying, just go with the flow. And they rebuke that with, only dead fish go with the flow. You know what I mean? But the idea is, to every extent that you don't go with the flow, that's how much harder you have to fight the flow. The river's going this way. And if you're going that way, what that results in is effort and strain and trying and resistance. So if you're going down the flow and you fall in love and then somebody breaks your heart and you think the answer to that broken heart is to harden yourself and fight the flow of that pain and, screw this person. What you're choosing to do is go against the grain of life. But the idea is to let go. So. A release. It's a release. It's a letting go into every single moment, You go to work and they say, hey, we don't got enough work for you. We're going to have to lay you off. So. You're walking out in public and somebody robs you, steals everything you have on you. So. You find out your rent is getting raised. So. You find out you're getting evicted. So. Now this might sound silly, this might sound a bit facetious, but the idea is this is a profound ability that we possess as human beings to allow the moment to be precisely as it is. When you get in an argument with somebody, you know how the emotions of anger start to completely consume you and you can't even think straight and you start feeling like you're about to pop with rage and you can't even, you're losing your mind? You're going against the flow. You're going against the grain. What you need to do is allow. Okay, adrenaline is coursing through my body. Cortisol is coursing through my body. I am rip shit angry right now. I am infuriated. And here we are. That ability to keep the ground, to keep the spaciousness, and here we are, is so critical for your well-being. Because if you don't have that so mentality, if you don't have the capacity to create a spaciousness sort of behind or beyond your emotional reactivity, you are imprisoned by your emotional reactivity. And you will be the result of your actions that are born out of that emotional reactivity. So when you're angry, you're going to make actions that are equal to that angry reality you're living in. You know, raging out, crashing out as it's called in this time. That's like a new term that means like just flipping out. When you're angry and you don't have that spaciousness, when you don't have that so mentality, when you aren't able to harmoniously flow with the way of things, you're going to make actions that are equal to that energetic state that you're in. And the so mentality is a moment of pause, a moment of contemplation, a moment of spaciousness to see, like you kind of see it like, wow, he's really mad right now, or she's really angry right now. You see yourself about to do this or that. And that story of the monk is a beautiful and direct example of not fighting, not resisting. Now this, what I'm sharing here doesn't mean being a pushover. I literally just made a video talking about not being a pushover, and that resistance is, a certain type of resistance is good. But what I'm saying is not fighting the way things are. We do have a great influence in reality, but things are inevitably going to happen that we didn't account for and that we didn't want to happen. So what we can do in that moment is either A, fight it and get angry about it, and get resentful towards it, or B, allow it and adjust accordingly. Accommodate for it. We are very resilient people. We are very resilient beings, but we have to acknowledge that quality of ourselves for us to be resilient. Otherwise, we aren't aware of how resilient we really are, and we're gonna fight, we're gonna push against, we're gonna get angry, we're gonna get tight, we're gonna get cynical, we're gonna cause a lot of ruckus, we're gonna create a lot of ripples in the water of our being and in the water of other beings if we aren't able to recognize that spaciousness, that resilience. Your ability, like, okay, so remember the LA fires, and remember like the hurricane in, I think it was North Carolina, how it completely just demolished the area. If they were to just wallow and despair and cry in agony and give up, it wouldn't have been rebuilt. It wouldn't have been worked on. They wouldn't have been able to bounce back. But when the fires ravaged across Los Angeles, the people as a collective essentially said, so the whole city has been burnt. Now, obviously, this doesn't dismiss the emotional power and impact of those fires, but nevertheless, their ability to accept what had happened is why they were able to bounce back from it. Same with North Carolina with the hurricanes. The ability to accept reality as it is, so, is how you readjust and come back from that point. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. You think it's the end when it all burns down, but your ability to accept it as it is the grounds, the means by which you're able to transform and rebuild from that point. You know, like imagine you're like in your car and you never get pulled over, so you decide to like, you know, you bring a little bit of weed with you or something or whatever because you're going to your friend's house or, you know, just, you know what I'm saying? And then you get pulled over because you have a light out, they smell weed in the car, so you get charged and a ticket and all this stuff. The one time I bring weed, I never get pulled over, and the one time I have weed in my car, they pull me over and I'm in trouble. All this fighting, all this, But your ability to be, okay, all right, here we are. I've been charged with possession of marijuana. Okay, you know what I mean? Your peace lies in your ability to accept reality as it is. Now, this doesn't mean to give up and not try to create a reality that you want to live in, but what it means is that when the inevitable happens, when the unexpected happens, meet it with curiosity and acceptance. You know, you think we have a problem. There's this old story of Ram Dass and Timothy Leary back when they lived together in the 60s. They were like psychedelic teachers. Ram Dass would be saying to Tim, we have a problem. And Tim would insist, no, Richard, no, Ram Dass, we don't have a problem. We need a plan. Just a little flick of a change of perspective, just a little bit different. It's not a problem, but we need a plan. When you get laid off or fired from your job, rather than living in the reality of this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, try shifting that perspective just a little bit and saying, I need a plan. I need a plan. I need a plan. What's the next move? What are we going to do from here? We're very resilient beings. If you look back on your life, you know all those times when you felt it was all over and it all crumbled to pieces, or maybe right now it feels like it's crumbling to pieces. And it feels like dark, no light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know the next step. You don't know the next move. Notice how it's kind of appearing before you in every moment. It said, as you walk the way appears. Notice how here we are, right now. You're still here. You're still functioning. You're still taking actions. And you're sort of being guided. And it would be in your best interest to just trust. Trust that reality knows how to take care of itself, and trust in your own intrinsic wisdom. That you have the capacity to bounce back, to take actions that lead to rebuilding, to take actions that lead to creating the life you want to live. Isn't that interesting? All those times you felt it was falling apart and you didn't know the next move and you didn't know, you felt lost, you felt damned, you felt at a dead end. But here you still are. You bounced back. You found out what to do. Something happened. You made an action. You found your way through. All those moments like you feel like if you live paycheck to paycheck, you still are managing to keep going. We manage. We're very resilient. We're able to grow and to move with the moment as it is. And what I'm trying to emphasize in this video is the importance of that so mentality. So I'm gonna give you a challenge. If you're watching this video and you're about to click off, I want to challenge you. When the next thing that happens that surprises you, that frustrates you, that depresses you, that confuses you, that scares you, whenever challenge expresses itself, whenever opposition manifests itself, try seeing it in that so way. So, okay, what now? I'm very angry. I'm sad. I'm grieving. I need a plan. Try cultivating that so mentality. Try cultivating that moment of pause before you just completely give way to chaos and emotional instability. And that's another really big thing here is we are rampant as a society, as a culture, as a whole. We are rampant with emotional instability, and the deeper you're able to develop this so capacity, the deeper you're going to be able to see that all these people are reacting to just nothing. They're overreacting to things that aren't even existent. They're getting all worked up. It said we're covering our eyes and then weeping because it's dark. As you create a more and more, as you touch into a deeper ground within yourself, as you establish more groundedness and clarity, and with that tranquility, you're going to be able to begin to see how many people are just making a big deal and making a mess of themselves and their lives for no reason. And they're only making that big deal because they haven't developed that so mentality. They haven't developed emotional stability. They haven't developed mental balance, mental coherence. And as you dive deeper and deeper into your own acceptance of things, it's going to start to blow your mind how much people are making a big fuss over nothing. You're like, holy crap, they're like, and it'll start to surprise you, like somebody's making a big deal, and it will take you a second to register that they're not even joking. They're dead serious. They're really upset about that thing. You know what I mean? Like, I went to a concert a couple weeks ago, and we stopped at a McDonald's, and there was this couple up front that were waiting for their order, and this girl was like flipping out that there wasn't a sweet and sour sauce in her bag. She's like, I ordered the sweet and sour sauce and it's not even in here. And I was just like, damn, dude, like she's actually mad about that. She's actually emotionally activated towards that. Imagine if something real happened. Imagine if something bigger than there not being a sweet and sour sauce thing in your bag at McDonald's happened. Imagine if something actually emotionally taxing and serious and something that actually required cognitive grounding and cognitive effort and attention. Imagine if something like that happened. I can't imagine how she would react in that moment. And it just, once again, it blew my mind that people are not able to accept things the way they are. People fight. Only dead fish go with the flow. Only dead fish are okay when there's not sweet and sour sauce in their bag. You know? I fight, I resist, I push back. Where's my sweet and sour sauce? Why is there traffic? I need more money. This isn't okay. This isn't acceptable. The state of the world is not okay. We need peace. A little hair floating in front of the camera. It's wild. It's wild. And as you touch deeper and deeper into your own acceptance and your own innate peace, you're going to see more and more how many people are making a big deal over nothing. All because they haven't developed that quality that you're working on developing. All because they haven't developed emotional stability. They haven't developed the so mentality. It's a profound teaching and lesson that we can take away from that story I shared in the beginning. Your peace lies in your ability to accept things the way they are. And in accepting things the way they are, that is the prerequisite to taking actions that can grow you and rebuild you from that thing that you're accepting. Does that make sense? Your ability to accept things is synonymous with your ability to grow from that point. If you don't accept it, you're gonna live in denial. You're gonna live in a world of emotional instability and fighting and resistance. So I'm telling you, work on allowing things to be as they are. When surprise manifests itself, see it as an opportunity to grow. See it as a test. How grounded are you? How resilient are you? How peaceful and tranquil and zenned out are you? See the hardships and the surprises and the misfortunes and the setbacks. See it all as Ram Dass says, grist for the mill of awakening. See it all as an opportunity for you to deepen your capacity to handle life. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider liking and subscribing because it really helps me out and it helps grow this channel and get this video recommended to other people who may really need to hear this kind of stuff. So with that said, thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next video.